up, guys? My name is Brandon, and welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find the latest album reviews, you can find band interviews, and you can find our live episodes, which we do live every Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. So if you enjoy talking about music, you enjoy talking about music news, or both, definitely come check that out. We have a lot of fun. I get to do it with three of my best friends. And it's a good time. We crack jokes and we get to talk about music, so what's better than that? So we would love to see you in the chat room. Come chat music with us. It'd be amazing if you supported us in that, as well as we announced a giveaway for our 100 sub goal. So if you want to win some free stuff, we're going to be giving away 2 of our album of the years, as well as an Audio Addiction t-shirt. It's in medium, so if you're not medium, we'll gladly sign it for you if you would like. But I highly recommend, if you want, go check that out. Go see if you can win some free stuff. That would be awesome of you guys. As well as make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. We've got a lot of awesome stuff down the pipeline, so you don't want to miss out on that. And also make sure to smash that like button if you like Artifex Pereo, or if you like what I do. That'd be amazing, and we appreciate your support here at Audio Addiction. But tonight, we're going to be talking about Artifex Pereo's new album, Passengers. So, for those of you who don't know who Artifex Pereo are, they are a band out of Louisville, Kentucky, and they feature members Lucas, who does vocals. They have Corey, who does drums. We got Jordan, who does guitar. We have Jamie, who does guitar as well, and he also does backing vocals. We have Eugene, who does bass, and Jeremiah, who does keys and sort of organy, synthy sort of parts. But this band has been on my radar for a long time, and I feel like they are a highly underrated band. I've been following them since Ailments and Antidotes, and I've followed them all the way up to their most recent album, Time and Place. And I love what they do. They're one of my favorite bands. If I have not mentioned it on here, I have mentioned it 20 million thousand times on our live episodes. They are one of the most solid bands that I've ever heard in my entire life, and I always love when they put out stuff. But yeah, so I was super pumped when they announced Passengers. It just came out this past Friday, the 9th. So I highly recommend, if you have not, go check it out on any music site, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Also, make sure to go check them out on the I the Mighty Tour, another one of my favorite bands. They're going to be playing with Dayshell, another great band, and Picturesque, which is another one of my favorite bands as well. So it's a dream tour for me, so I'm super pumped to see all those bands. But we got something special lined up with that tour, so don't miss out on that. So make sure to hit that subscribe, like I said earlier. But yeah, I've been following them ever since then. And Time and Place was definitely my album of the year for 2014 when they released it. It's still such a killer album, and I jam it pretty much every day. So I'm excited that they released another new record. So let's kick it right in. So the first track is called Reentry, and it's cool intro track. I really like what they did. I like the ambience. I love like the instrumentation. It feels very huge. The production is just huge. It feels very spacious. It feels very ambient. And I love that quality about this band. I feel like they always do an amazing job at that. But yeah, so this is a great opener, and it gets you pumped for the next track, which is First Do No Harm. And I have to say that it gives me a lot of PM Today vibes. If you have not checked out that band, I highly recommend you go check that one out as well. In Medias Res is another one of my favorite albums of all time as well. But anyway, getting back to Artifex, I love what they did on the vocals. Lucas, I feel like, is a highly underrated vocalist in the post-hardcore scene. He just does an amazing job, just in terms of range and just vocal techniques and stuff like that. He just does a killer job. And the rest of the band, in terms of instrumentation, just kill it. If you know anything about Artifex Pereo, or if you've listened to them, I feel like they just doing a killer job with the instrumentation. I love the piano parts in the bridge part of this track. I feel like they add such a nice layer to it, and I feel like Jeremiah's highly underrated in this band, but I definitely love what he does on the keys. He does a killer job. And I also like Lucas's lower registers in this track. I feel like that was underutilized in their last record, Time and Place. He did a lot more high register stuff, so I like him experimenting with his lower register. He's the most solid vocalist I've ever heard in my entire life. So it was cool to hear him in that lower register, and he just still kills it. So I really dug this track. It's probably one of my favorites on this record. We'll move on to the second track, which is Paper Ruled All. This was the first single that they released off this album, and immediately I was hooked. I love the gritty guitars in this track. The screams and the cleans are a nice balance, and I feel like they, play off of each other very well. Again, Jeremiah's piano, he just does an amazing job, and he kind of accents little parts of each track, which just makes it that much more amazing, and he just kills it. I also like the sort of spooky vibe that it has to it. It's got this very like minor sort of vibe to it, which I've always digged from them, and it kind of reminds me of a track off of Time and Place, kind of like a little bit like Hands of Penitence, but maybe a little bit stronger in terms of more aggressive guitars and stuff like that. But I really, really dug this track. This one's another one of my favorites off the record. So we'll move on to track number 4, which is Space Between Thoughts. This is another great track. It kind of reminds me a lot of Time and Place. Again, I feel like they're just piling on, what they did from Time and Place and just, turning it up a notch. They just kill it on that. The chorus hits like a truck. I love the openness. Chris Crummett knows how to take the best out of this band and a lot of bands in the scene. He's just such a great producer, and I like what he does, but more particularly in Artifex Pereo, he just does a killer job, and it just feels very open, feels very organic, feels very spacious, and I love that about his work and just this track in general. I also like the vocal overdubs, and I think the second verse, it's very nice. I didn't hear too much of that on Time and Place, but it's a welcome addition to this record, and I hope that it adds some more stuff to that. I also hope that Jeremiah does some more vocal parts, because him and Lucas play off each other very well, and I'd be excited to see if they actually add him on vocals as well. And Jamie does a great job as well. So we'll move on to the next track, which is Soft Weapons. This one also has a very spooky sort of vibe, like minor sort of vibe, very similar to Paper Ruled All. This was actually the second single that they released as well. But I really enjoy that. I love Lucas's range. Again, he's such a solid vocalist. He can do everything from those high notes to those very low sort of lower vibes as well. And it's just a very soft track, but it's highly underrated, and it just got this sort of just this Artifex Pereo sound. I mean, like they're unlike any other band that I've heard in the scene in quite some time. So it always gets me excited to play music and stuff like that and listen to them and kind of learn stuff from them, but just do their music. But they just did an awesome job. And so we'll move it on to the next track, which is Age of Loneliness. This is by far the best track on the record, and I would hence to bet that this is the best track that they've ever written. It just got this solidness to it, and almost reminds me of Tides of Man, like Dream House, Empire Theory. It's definitely got those sort of guitar vibes to it. When I listened to it, especially the first time I listened to it, I was like, man, this definitely sounds like, it has some Tides of Man vibes, but still keeping to the Artifex Pereo, like, formula and stuff like that. So I really dug this track. It's got guitar licks for days. Definitely the best track off the record, hands down. The bridge is pure gold, and I love what this band does yet again. They just do a killer job at that. So we'll move it on to track number 7, which is The Coefficient of Efficiency. They just do, again, another great job. I love the vibes of this track. It's a great follow-up to Age of Loneliness. Just, again, it's another slower sort of track, but again, I love what Lucas does in terms of vocally and instrumentally. The guys hold it down per usual. So I'm super stoked on that. Also, sorry, I have like little notes on here about the tracks, but um, yeah, this one's another super solid track. I feel like they can do no wrong, in my personal opinion. Just being a fan of the band for such a long time, I feel like they can do no wrong again. Track number 8, Enterprise of Empire. I love the opening of this track. It definitely has those sort of softer vibes again, playing off soft weapons. Um, but again, I think towards the second half of the track, it gets really pungent. It gets really powerful. The second half just kills it. The bridge is another amazing thing. It's very heavy, but it's also great at the same time instrumentally. Um, just the guys kill it. Jordan, Eugene, Jamie, and Jeremiah. They just all kill it on instrumentally in terms of that, and just Lucas just backs it up with his solid vocal prowess. So, what more can you expect from this band? But solid stuff. We'll move on to the next track, which is track number 9. As we look on, solid riffage again from the guys Jordan and Jamie. They're probably one of my favorite guitar duos as of more recently. They just know how to write guitar riffs super well, as well as they kind of, they're up there in my favorite, again, guitar sort of duos in that sense, in terms of writing. I always try to, you know, take into account what they do and stuff like that. So I definitely dug this album. The chorus is huge, and again, instrumentally, they just kill it once again. So highly recommend checking out this track. It's another super solid track and probably one of my favorites as well. I also like in the second part of the verse, it gets very bluesy, the bluesy sort of gnarly-esque riffs. It's super good, and the bridge gets super riffy and heavy, and it just shows a diversity between just one song where it can be very soft at the beginning, sort of, and then it can just transform into this super like nuts track. So Enterprise of Empire is another, or not Enterprise of Empire, As We Look On is another one of my favorite tracks. We'll move it on to track number 10, which is As History Would Have It. Another super solid track. I would consider this the Liable for Tragedy sort of track off the album. It's a very smooth sort of track. Again, it highlights Lucas's vocal prowess again. And I like the intro a lot. I like that it's just Jeremiah and Lucas. I love how the piano kind of complements his voice, and then after after the first chorus, the whole band kicks in, and it just makes this empty kind of sort of landscape very full and very huge. And I definitely dig that about this track. This one is a grower, and it's definitely growing on me, and I would consider this one to be one of the best tracks off the record as well. And we'll move on to the last track, which is Static Color. Great intro. It feels very full. It feels very almost orchestral, and which I have always endeared about this band. I feel like I love when they take elements of that and they just grow upon it. I feel like it's a great closer track, as well as having some very heavy ambient elements, as well as that organ sort of part where the organ part kicks in, and with the guitar, that just matches up super well and kind of reminds me of like older classic rock bands like Kansas and Boston and stuff like that, who do it obviously very well. But that's what it kind of reminds me as, and I like how it kind of, this track Static Color feeds into the next track, or the first track, Reentry, and it just kind of cycles again, which is another great songwriting thing from these guys. So we'll move into the pros and cons of this record. Pros, I love that they experimented. I still like that they kept with the same time and place vibes, but they just expounded upon their sound, and so they just did an awesome job at that. As well as I just like Lucas's range. He just expanded upon his already expansive range, and that just shows that his growth as a vocalist. I really dug what he did in that regard as well. and just all the tracks are super solid. I could not find a bad track on this record. It's just super hooky. It's just got these vibes to it that that can't be explained, and that's why they're one of my favorite bands. So my overall rating of this album, this was really tough because I definitely want to give other bands a shot at trying to be album of the year, but in my opinion, this album is album of the year for me. I'm gonna give it a 9.8 out of 10. I really don't think this will be much higher than any other band out there. In my opinion, I love Fit for a King, and I love Yellow Card, and I love like a lot of these bands that are coming out with records, but this by far is my record of the year. And I know there's a lot of other bands that are putting out amazing music, and I'm not trying to put them down in any way, but this band has been one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band, for the longest time. So just to see their growth and their maturity and just their songwriting ability just blew me away on this album. And I highly recommend that you go pick it up. I highly recommend that if you haven't pre-ordered it, I would definitely pre-order it, especially if you love that experimental rock, if you like that post-hardcore. There's pretty much everything from like soft sort of like rock sort of tracks to like really heavy grittier tracks to something that harkens back to post-hardcore. And there's not a lot of bands that sound like this, and I'm not just trying to say that to be rude to any other band, but this band sounds way different than any other band that I've heard in a while. There are similarities to some of these bands, and they get compared to I the Mighty a lot, and even though they're in the same genre, but I just feel like they do a different thing than I the Mighty. I love both I the Mighty and Artifex, but I would have to say that they are on completely different tracks in terms of musical abilities and stuff like that. I just feel like Artifex just kills it every time, and not saying that I the Mighty doesn't. It's just that they kill it in a different way. So I'd like to know your thoughts on the record. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of Artifex Pereo. If you haven't, go check them out and let me know your thoughts are in the comments as usual. Let me know what your thoughts are on this album. What's your favorite track? Are you gonna go see them on the I the Mighty tour? Are you just going to the I the Mighty tour to see I the Mighty? Just let me know in the comments, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, it really helps out our channel, and we got some special new stuff coming up very shortly. That's pretty much it. Also, let me know in the comments what albums you'd like me to review in the future. That would be amazing. I know there's quite a few. I'm trying to get my work done on the This Wildlife record, and I know City Lights just put out a new EP over the weekend, and Deer Hunter also put out an awesome new record. So those should be in the wings, so be on the lookout for those as well. So I'll make sure to talk to you guys in the comments. Again, let me know what your thoughts are on this record. If you've heard of this band, if you haven't, go check them out. Like I said, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but I can't back this band enough, honestly. So with that being said, my name is Brandon, and we'll see you later. Peace.
So did you like the video? Then make sure you subscribe to Audio Addiction's channel by hitting that button right over there. Subscribe to our channel helps you stay up to speed on all of our latest content. Speaking of latest content, you can check out a recent episode from our live weekly show right down there, as well as a recent album review right over there. And you can check us out on social media right over there. So what are you waiting for? Let's talk music.